And welcome to Local Edition on Time Warner Cable. I'm Steve Swatt with the Sacramento Report. In the next few minutes, we're going to talk about efforts of the state capitol to chip away at Governor Brown's prison realignment. My guest is Connie Conway, who is the Republican leader in the State Assembly from Tulare. Thanks very much for being with us.
Oh, happy to be here, thanks.
So I guess we ought to back up and talk about what prison realignment is all about. And that generally we have a state prison system that's built to house 80,000, and at one point was housing probably, what, 140,000 maybe?
Yeah, a lot.
A lot. And we
a lot
had,
more than it should.
And we had to do something about that.
Yes.
And so the governor has a program that really a lot of local government officials, and you're a former supervisor, and others didn't agree with from the beginning.
Yeah, you know, it's the second time the state has done what we call realignment, and it's basically just what it says. It's a realigning of programs and, more importantly, funding, realigning it, taking a state program and maybe a few dollars, maybe not, and realigning or sending them down to counties. You know, and the excuse for that, when I asked, was, well, counties can do it cheaper and they can do it better. I don't disagree with that on some surfaces, but it depends on what it is. Mm-hmm. You know, if you're taking state prisoners out of a state prison and putting them in a county jail, a lot of us really took issue with that.
Supposedly they're low-level offenders.
Supposedly.
But what is interesting is that statewide over the last 20 years, the crime rate has gone down like 56%, violent crime down by 63%, but we're starting to see in localities some of these crimes being committed by individuals who have been paroled, they're on probation, or moved down into the counties.
You know, it's an interesting phenomena because if they're low-level offenders, that's whatever their last offense was. So they could have had other offenses. If their last offense was low-level, then they get this almost a get-out-of-jail-free card.
The Republicans at the Capitol have been, I think, ahead of the curve on this because you were sort of fighting realignment all along, and now a lot of Democrats are jumping on board, and there's legislation, I mean, on all sides to try to make some changes. You've got a whole package of bills. We
do. We have several bills that we think will fix part of the problem, and the governor himself has said, well, yeah, maybe we do need to tweak it. I mean, we were opposed to it from the get-go. In many respects, mostly we thought we saw a problem coming, but as typically happens, there was no dollars. So, you know, you dump a program on local government, but you don't fund it. And so from the get-go, that was a problem for us. But.
And so you would like to see some of these individuals be taken from the county back into the state prisons, for example, right?
Yeah, some of them definitely need to do that. I mean, depending on what, I represent a very rural and actually rural and remote part of California in Inyo County. And as the sheriff tells me, Connie, I have 4 cells. I don't have a men and a women's prison. I have 4 holding cells. So part of it is location, but part of it is what has happened is really they aren't even being held. When the county jails are overcrowded, they aren't even put in jail, so they're let free, or they're put on a GPS, which they promptly cut off.
Right. If you send some of these folks back to state prison, I mean, that's a catch-22 because the prisons are overcrowded. The courts have said you have to do something about it. So that's really a tough position for the governor, for the legislature to be in.
It is a tough position, but as some of us see it, you know, actually some privatized prisons went out of business. See, we don't want to put people in a private prison. We don't want to ship them out of state. You know, we want to keep them here. One of the things that was most notable to me was this realignment was going to save money and it was going to make it all better. Interestingly, after it was done, the very next year, CDRC's budget went up 10%, even though we shifted prisoners.
Well, it's an interesting subject. It's ongoing and will be with us for many months. Connie Conway, thanks for coming in and discussing it with us.
Happy to do that.
And thanks to our viewers, of course, for watching Local Edition on Time Warner Cable. A reminder, you can see all of our interviews on My Government On Demand, also on YouTube. I'm Steve Swatt. Have a great day.